This Parsha podcast is dedicated in honor of our dear friend and dedicated Parsha podcast listener, Steve Horak, on the occasion of his birthday this week. And this was sponsored by his children, Meirav and Aaron, and his granddaughter, Libby. Happy birthday, my friend. May this year bring you only blessing and happiness and prosperity and goodness to you and your family. It's Parshas Behaaloscha, and I'm so excited about this Parsha podcast, not just because we're back on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central on torchzoom.com, but because the idea that we're going to share today with the help of the Almighty, it's a wonderful idea. It's a powerful idea. It's an exciting idea. It's an idea that's been in the making for years now. It's been brewing for a long time, and I think I may have finally cracked the code. Parshas Behaaloscha is a Parsha podcaster's dream. It's a dream Parsha, because it's an absolute smorgasbord of fascinating subjects and plot lines. It's a cornucopia of fun. It starts off with the kindling of the Menorah. Hashem tells Moshe, speak to Aaron, Behaaloscha, when you make the candles of the Menorah ascend, they should all skew, they should direct themselves towards the middle one. The Menorah, of course, was a 7-branch candelabra. It had one branch in the middle of the spine, and 3 on the right, and 3 on the left. And the direction of the candles, of the lamps, should be towards the middle one. When you ascend those lights, they should go towards the middle. And then it revisits, this is the 3rd verse of the Parsha, it revisits the construction of the menorah. That already happened, of course, when the tabernacle was built in the book of Exodus. The menorah was hammered out of a single block of gold. V'zeh ma'aseh ha-menorah, this is the construction of the menorah. It's miksha, it's made out of one block. It's hammered from the largest part of it to the most delicate and fine and intricate part of it, just as God showed Moshe, so he made the menorah. This, by the way, if you're counting, it's the 4th time in the Torah, really the 5th, depends on how you count, where we're told about the menorah and its kindling. Next, we revisit the Levites again. They are selected, they are inaugurated, they are designated for their service, and it's a bit of a process. They're purified, they're given clean clothing, they're shaved like a cucumber, they bring sacrifices, the nation places their hands upon the heads of the Levites, as one would do with a sacrifice. They're waved by Aaron the high priest, as one would do with a sacrifice. We read about the law of working-age Levites. They start their apprenticeship to do work in the tabernacle and temple. They start the apprenticeship at age 25, and that's a 5-year apprenticeship. They begin working at age 30, and they have a mandatory retirement age of 50. And then in chapter 9, we read about the paschal offering on year 2 of the Exodus. Of course, the Exodus was in Pesach, was Passover. In chapter 9, we read about what happened the following year. It's the 2nd year. And the nation did the paschal offering in the wilderness. Rashi tells us that Passover is in the month of Nisan, whereas chapter 1 of Bamidbar is in the following month, the month of Iyar. It's in the 2nd month of the 2nd year. So there's a problem with the chronology. The events of chapter 1 of Bamidbar succeeded the events of chapter 9. And that's because this was the only paschal offering, we're told, that was done in the wilderness, and that's a bit shameful. And in order to not accentuate the shame of the fact that there was only one wilderness paschal offering, it's placed in a less prominent location, just like the companies are trained. If you have bad news, a bad press release, you put it out on Friday afternoon or during the Super Bowl. 9th chapter of Numbers doesn't hit quite as hard as chapter 1. And then we have those who were impure. And they complain, we cannot offer the paschal offering. Why should we be any less? And we learn about the Pesach Sheni, the rain date Pesach. A month later, there's a second opportunity, a make-up opportunity to bring the paschal offering if you do not bring it on Passover itself. We learn about the movement of the camp guidelines when the cloud, which was ever present atop the tabernacle, when it lifts, when it departs, it's time to move. We follow the cloud and we settle and encamp wherever the cloud settles and encamps. Chapter 10, we read about the construction of the silver trumpets that Moshe used to gather the nation and to signal the movement of the encampments. It was also used for war and for musical accompaniment of sacrifices. It was blown during fast days. And like the Menorah, we're told in chapter 10, verse 2, the trumpets, the silver trumpets of Moshe had to be hammered out of a single block of material. It is miksha. It is hammered out of a block of silver. And finally, we have the first movement from Sinai. The nation has been in Sinai since the middle of the book of Exodus. It's been almost a year. It's 10 days shy of a year. And there's the organized breakup of the camp, tribe by tribe, the disassembly of the tabernacle. Everyone's in place. Everything is organized to perfection. And there's very precise sequencing. First, the 3 tribes situated to the east, that's Judah, and Issachar, and Zvulun. They move. And then the Gershonite and Merarite Levite families who are responsible for the transportation of the body of the tabernacle, they disassemble and begin the transport of their responsibilities. Then the southern tribes of Reuven, Shimon, and Gad. And then the Levite family of Kehas with the tabernacle vessels. Then the western tribes. Then the northern tribes. They leave Sinai. They travel to the wilderness of Paran. And again, they're guided by the clouds of glory. Moshe tries to persuade his father-in-law Jethro to join them. The nation's under the impression that the conquest and the entrance into Canaan is imminent. Come with us. We'll find you a nice place in the land. He demurs. He is resistant. He says, I want to go back to my land, to Midian. And then we have that very strange, very interesting, very intriguing part of the Torah where there are 2 inverted nuns, and they are almost like parentheses separating 2 verses, the 2 final verses of chapter 10. Those verses tell what Moshe said when the ark traveled and what Moshe said when it rested. And chapter 11, that's when the trouble begins. The people complain and are struck by God with fire. The people complain about the manna. They crave the meat. The people complain about their familial situations. Moshe becomes exasperated with his monumental task of bearing the yoke of the nation. And he asks for relief. And God tells him to select 70 lieutenants. This is the first Sanhedrin. He chooses 72 candidates because every tribe can submit 6 candidates. And then there had to be a lottery to find out which 2 of the 72 will not make the final cut. There are 2 blank sheets of paper inside the hat, and the other 70 say elder in it to signify that they're part of the elders of the nation. And there were 2 candidates, 2 of the 72, Eldad and Medad, and they were so certain that they will pull blanks out of the hat, they didn't even bother going. And where the other 70 candidates were pulling out sheets of paper, 2 pulled out blanks, and thus, in the camp, Eldad and Medad became prophets instantly, and they started to prophesy about the death of Moshe and the conquest of Canaan under Joshua's leadership. We have the episode of the quail. We have the episode of Miriam getting saras. She was speaking negatively about Moshe. She questioned Moshe's superiority. He's not the only prophet. We're also prophets. She equated herself with Moshe. She received saras, and the nation waited for the conclusion of her quarantine before departing. That's the Parsha. There's really a lot to talk about. But we'll start from the top. The first 4 verses of our Parsha revisit the Menorah. The Menorah kindled by Aaron the high priest each night. It's the 4th or 5th time of the Torah. Exodus 25, Exodus 37, Exodus 27, and Leviticus 24. And now here, Parshas Behaaloscha, we're told about the Menorah and its kindling. And the question I want to pose, it's basically my favorite question. This is my favorite question. And we spoke about it very briefly many years ago, and then it was just like a stub of an idea, and it might still be a stub. Maybe it still needs further development, but I think it's a very powerful insight and a very powerful approach. There's something very unusual about the making of the Menorah. You start off with a big block of gold, and you have a chisel or a hammer, and you beat it and you hammer and you chisel out of a single block of gold the Menorah. You cannot make separate branches and then weld them together. You cannot make, the different embellishments, the cups, the lamps, the knobs, the flowers, and add them on. You have to remove all the parts of the non-menorah from the hunk of gold that you start off with. Now, in the tabernacle, there were many things made of gold, of silver, of other precious materials. And it did not have this stipulation. We have the kior, the laver, made out of copper. Doesn't say that it has to be hammered out of a single piece of silver. The ark, no such requirement. The table did not have that requirement. The menorah cannot be composed of different parts that you make. You have to start off with a single block of gold, and you chisel out of it the shape of the menorah with all the intricate embellishments, the cups, the knobs, the flowers, and of course the branches. Isn't that interesting? Similarly, Moshe is told to make silver trumpets. Make 2 silver trumpets, miksha, the same word, hammered out. And again, Rashi tells us, don't make it in any other way. You start with a big hunk of silver, and you have to take a chisel and carve it out by removing the non-trumpet parts of that silver block. And that's what Moshe is going to use to beckon the people, to beckon the leaders of the people, to indicate decampment, travels. And these trumpets, they have lots of powerful meaning to them. The Midrash says that God told Moshe, I made you like a king. When a king travels, they have to blast the shofar or blast the trumpet in front of them. So too, you're a king, and therefore you have to have your own 2 kingly trumpets. And the Midrash tells us that no one else was able to use it. It was forbidden because this is like the accoutrement of the king. And we're told, very interesting, that in Moshe's lifetime, at the very end of his life, in chapter 31 of Devarim, Moshe has to orally summon the people. And the Midrash says, wait a minute. What happened to chapter 10? Those trumpets. You blast it once, you blast it twice, you blast it with 1, with 2. You summon the masses, you summon the heads. Why is Moshe orally summoning the people? In his lifetime, Midrash tells us, Moshe had to put them away. Moshe archived his own trumpets in his lifetime. Why? Because even Moshe was not a king on the day of his death. The death of a person, that's when they submit themselves completely to God. And they demonstrate, they display that they're completely beholden to God. There is no rulership, there's no kingdom, there's no dominion in the day of death. And the commentaries It spanned further than this idea. Moshe was a king, and the symbol of his kingdom are these trumpets. If you think about it, the reason why we have the trumpets, yes, it's to summon the nation and the princes, but it's also for movement, for decampment and encampment. And the Or HaChaim asks the question, wait a minute. We know that when it's time to move, the cloud lifts and the cloud travels. So you see the cloud lifting, it's time to move. Why is there a need for Moshe to blow the trumpet, or Moshe to have Moshe's trumpets blown? So he explains, we don't follow the clouds. We follow Moshe. Moshe is our king. And we wait for his trumpet to blast before we move. I saw very interesting. The Kabbalists asked the question, and Moshe told to make 2 trumpets. Wouldn't one be sufficient? And the Kabbalists say, this is a side point, every person has 2 trumpets, has 2 inclinations. Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Ra. Good inclination, bad inclination. To his right, that's the force propelling him or encouraging him, nudging him, impelling him to do good. And to his left, well, there's the other force. And the goal of righteousness is to have both trumpets, so to speak, blasting together. To find a way to convert even the evil inclination to be a force of goodness. Side point. We have these very interesting, fascinating silver trumpets, and like the menorah, the trumpets, too, must be hewn from a single block. You start with a big hunk of silver, and you hammer and you carve and you chisel until the trumpets emerge. You cannot create the parts separately and weld them together. There is yet a third thing that has this requirement. Do you remember? Chapter 25 of Exodus, the chapter that talks about all the different parts of the tabernacle. And it talks about the ark. And the ark has a cover, the kapores. And on top of the cover of the ark are 2 gold cherubs. And it says, chapter 25, verse 18, make 2 cherubs of gold, miksha, same word, hammered, hewn. Don't make them separately and then attach them to the kapores, to the cover. No, you start off with a massive piece of gold, and you take your hammer, your chisel, and you carve all around it so that what is left is the cherub with their canopied wings and so on facing each other. That's how you do it. Now, of course, these cherubs, we've talked about in the past, they faced each other, but they would swivel to reflect the relationship that the nation had with God. When they faced each other, it was a sign of the love that God had, that God has to us. And it would appear like the embrace of lovers, our sages tell us. The Talmud tells us that during the festivals, the whole nation would make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and they would open up the curtains. And from a distance, everyone could see into the Holy of Holies. And they would see the cherubs in warm embrace. And the people, the leaders, would tell the nation, look at that love. The love, so to speak, that the Almighty has for us is symbolized by those 2 cherubs. Like a male and female, in the words of the Talmud. Lovers in embrace. That's the third thing that's hammered, that's chiseled into shape. The word miksha, meaning hammered out, appears in only 3 contexts in the Torah regarding the menorah, hammered out, the cherubs atop the cover of the ark, hammered out, and the silver trumpets that Moshe made in our Parsha, hammered out. Other vessels can be welded together. These three must be hewn from a single block of gold or of silver. What's the deeper meaning here? Why must the cherubs, the Menorah, Moshe's trumpets, why must they be hewn, hammered, pounded out of a single block of metal? Why these three specifically? You cannot weld them together. You cannot pour them into a mold, make some molten gold, pour it into a mold. What's the deeper message? Now, there's an observation in that we find the exact opposite requirement. There is something that cannot be hammered out of a pre-existing piece. There is something that must be made from something that was previously unmade. There's a halacha about a sukkah. A sukkah, you have to have walls. 2.5 is maybe enough. 4 walls is typical. It has to have a ceiling, which is the schach. And the walls have to be made of a certain material. And the ceiling is made of a certain material. And there's lots of different rules to govern what constitutes a kosher versus a non-kosher sukkah. But one thing is clear. If you start with a massive mound of trees or a mound of hay can be a kosher wall and a schach, or that sort of a material that comes from the earth. So someone has a brilliant idea. I'll carve a sukkah out of a big mound of trees or a big mound of hay. I'll just carve out the void in the middle, right? I'll just make some room to sit. And then I have the walls pre-made, which is almost like how you would make the menorah or the cherubs or the trumpets. So the law states, ta'aseh v'lo mena'asu, you have to make it actively, and it cannot be out of something that was made previously. So to me, this is very interesting, that the way you make a trumpet of Moshe, the menorah or the cherubs, it has to be the exact opposite of how you make a sukkah. With the trumpet, with the menorah, with the cherubs, what do you do to make it? You don't make it. What you do, the work that you do, is the removal of what is not it. Whatever is not a trumpet in this big hunk of silver is what I'm going to do the work on. I'm going to remove it. Whatever is not a menorah, this massive piece of gold, my work is not in the menorah itself, it's in the non-menorah part of this big hunk. I'm not making the trumpets, I'm removing the non-trumpet part of this piece of silver. I'm chipping away at the non-menorah part of this hunk of gold. I'm going to chisel away at the non-cherub parts of this piece of gold. It's a creation via omission. Whereas the opposite here is told us by the sukkah. The sukkah must be actively made. You cannot make the void in which the non-sukkah parts were previously. You cannot hollow out from a big hunk of material. It has to be a creation via commission. You have to have an active creation of what you want, not the removal of what you don't want so that only what you want remains. So it seems to me that there are 2 ways to build something. There's the sukkah way, where you actively create something that wasn't present previously. And then there's the menorah, the cherubs, the trumpet way. You don't even touch what you want. The thing you want to make, you don't touch it. You don't do anything to it. But all the things that inhibit it, all the things that are not it, you scrape away. And what you have left, what you have not removed, well, that's the thing that you want. So here's what I want to suggest. You want to build menorah, cherubs. You want to build the trumpets. Before you build it, before you even start construction, You're holding the material. You haven't even started. All you have is this hunk of gold. Somewhere inside this is an intricately embellished menorah with the cups, with the knobs, with the flowers, with the branches, with the almond shapes. Everything is there. There's 7 beautiful branches inside this hunk of gold. Now, it's not visible at all. When you look at it, all you see is a big hunk of gold. But it's already there. It's just that there's all sorts of non-menorah things that are there too. You have a fully developed menorah. It's just concealed by lots of other things. But that's before you even start. You have it. You just need to remove some other things to expose it. Before you start building your trumpets, you are holding a trumpet in your hand. It just doesn't look like a trumpet. It's just a big block of silver. There are so many non-trumpet parts in it. But you don't need to create a trumpet. It's already there. It's created. It's just that there are other things that are masking it, that are hiding it, that are concealing it. Think about how daunting it is to try to make cherubs. You want to make these intricately embellished angels with wings and a gold that represent the relationship that we're supposed to have with God. It's a daunting task. It's maybe impossible. But when you start off with a hunk of gold, a very large hunk of gold, you don't know it, you can't see it, but you are holding a fully fledged set of cherubs with the exact specifications needed. It's just that there are other things that are there as well. You are already at the finish line before you start. You already have what you desire. It's just covered up by other things. Now, what are these 3 things? The menorah, the trumpets, the cherubs. The things that must be hammered out of pre-existing materials. These 3 items symbolize extraordinary greatness in different domains. They're all legacy accomplishments, capstone achievements of life. The most bold and audacious goals that we can set forth in our life are symbolized by these 3 things. The menorah, we know, it symbolizes the light of Torah. And not just the light of Torah, taking the light of Torah that are found in the ark, in the tablets, taking that light and illuminating the entire world with it. Illuminating even parts of the world that maybe were not influenced by Torah. That's an incredible goal. That's an incredible mission. And the menorah symbolizes, the process of building that symbolizes that if you're starting to build it, you have to know that the light that illuminates the whole world is already within you. You just need to remove other things to expose it. The cherubs. The cherubs symbolize this incredibly close, this intimate relationship that we have with the Almighty. We have it already. It's just there are some things that are blocking it. It's there. There's something which is disrupting it from being noticeable, from being present, from manifesting itself. You have to just remove that. It's already there. The trumpets are used to hail Moshe. He's the king. He uses it to assemble the people, to symbolize movement, to symbolize the decamping. But it symbolizes Moshe as a leader. Moshe, where did his leadership come from? Moshe, like all leaders, truthfully all people, had his destiny of greatness built in before he even started. How did he become king? The trumpets symbolize how. I want to expand maybe on this idea. I take the liberty in assuming that none of us are currently trying to build a tabernacle or its vessels. We're not trying to hew cherubs or a menorah or trumpets. But anyone who's serious about trying to achieve something really wonderful in life, something really transcendental in life, real greatness. There's a very inspiring and comforting lesson here. These three themes symbolize things that we have within us, and we don't need to go out and acquire it. It's present even before we start. The menorah. The menorah is a candle, a light that illuminates the whole world. The Talmud tells us that a child, before they're born, there's a candle on their head, and they see from one end of the world to the other. And the child, before they are born even, before they even start the whole exciting drama of life, they know all of Torah, from beginning to end, everything. And they see from one end of the world to the other. The menorah, the illumination of Torah that can brighten the entire world, is already present within a child before they're born. It's all there. But you start off life and you're completely ignorant. There isn't a sign, a hint of any menorah. All you see is a blob, a hunk, an unidentified mass, an unidentified mess. You're not even aware that there's a fully developed menorah with its knobs and cups and embellished flowers and branches. It's all there, ready to go. You can illuminate our world, and it's built within you. You don't need to make it. It's there, all of it. You just need to expose it. The cherubs symbolize, it's like lovers in embrace, the Talmud tells us. This incredible closeness that our nation is fortunate enough to have with God. And that, it's there. It's there from before we even start. There is a special blessing that we say right after a circumcision, right after the covenant. And we talk about our nation being yedidim, which is a word that means close, close, close friends between us and God. Before you start your life, before anything happens. Baby is ignorant, 8 days old. They know nothing about nothing. They're already they're enveloped by this embrace of God. Whenever my grandfather would say this blessing, he wrote a book about this concept, about this incredible world of closeness that we have with God. And he highlighted this blessing. God sanctified a beloved one from the womb, from the beginning. Whenever he would say his blessing, the tears would stream down his eyes, down his face. It's all there. Our soul was at Sinai. It's signed a pact with God, an unbreakable bond with God. We have that already. The cherubs are there. You don't see it, but it's there. We may feel very distant from our Creator, from our Father in heaven. And when we try to build a relationship, we want to have cherubs. All we see is an indistinct mass. But in truth, we're holding a fully formed set of cherubs. A fully formed set of cherubs that symbolize an intimate connection with our Creator. It's already there. We have to expose it. Moshe's greatness is symbolized by the trumpets. That's the sign of his kingship. How did Moshe get there? It's a long story how Moshe became king. He endured a lot. He was abandoned by his parents. Remember the story. In the water, adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, lives a life of luxury and maybe distance from the nation in the palace. He goes out, he defends the vulnerable. He's framed for murder. They try to execute him. He has to go to exile to Midian. He goes there and he sees the shepherds harassing the daughters of Midian. This is a long, long story. It's 80 years almost before he's at the mountain, at the burning bush. And even then, how hard did he have to work to reach this point where they're blasting the trumpets in his honor? Moshe's greatness, his position of leadership, was there before he was born. The Talmud tells us, Miriam, his sister, is a prophetess. When did she prophesy? When she was the sister of Aaron. And that's why when it describes Miriam as a prophetess, it says, Achos Aaron, the sister of Aaron. She's the sister of Moshe as well. But she prophesied when she was the sister of Aaron only before Moshe was born. And what was the nature of her prophecy? My mother, our mother, Yocheved, will bear a child that will save the nation. Even the Egyptian stargazers foresaw Moshe will save the people. And when he was born, the sages tell us, the entire house was filled with light. Moshe, when he was a baby, he had that greatness, that trumpet within him. But he started off as a hunk of silver. And to the untrained eye, you wouldn't see any trumpet there. But the Torah is telling us, Moshe's greatness, he became king, it was all within him, and he did a lot of work. Imagine what it's like to try to carve out of a big piece of silver, try to carve out trumpets. Good luck. It's not easy at all. But it was there. It was present. At the end of Moshe's life, his final message to the people, chapter 30 of Devarim, Moshe says the immortal words, this mitzvah that I'm commanding you today, it's not distant, it's not far, it's not in the heavens that you have to climb up to the heavens to go get it. It's not on the other side of the river, on the other side of the sea that you have to travel to go get it. It's very close. It's exceedingly close. It's in your mouth, it's in your heart to do it. Which mitzvah is Moshe referring to? This mitzvah that's so close. You may think it's distant. It's so close. So Rashi and Ramban disagree. Is it Torah? Is it repentance? Of course, both of them are true. The Torah is within you. It's in your mouth. It's in your heart to do it. It's very close. Ma'od means it's very, the word very doesn't appear very often in the Torah. It's within you. It's in your mouth. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. The menorah. It's in there, in that blob. You see a blob. We see a menorah. You see 100 gold. The Torah sees a brilliant menorah that lights the whole world. You see a mess. You see a mess. Moshe tells us, this mitzvah, beficha, it's in your mouth. It's in your heart to do it. The Ramban says it's talking about repentance. That's the mitzvah. What's repentance? It's coming back to God, coming back to God's embrace. It's already within you. You don't see it. All you see is a big mass, a big mess. There's a fully formed set of cherubs within you already. There is nothing closer to God, the Zohar tells us, than our heart. There's nothing closer. It's the closest embrace possible. It's covered, though. There's a role for each one of us to play. There's a specific role that's designated for us. There's a destiny that we must fulfill. The trumpets, that was Moshe's. Only Moshe was the king. We're not Moshe. But we all have a role to play. There's a corner of greatness designated for us. There's something with our name on it. Well, the trumpets symbolize Moshe's greatness, his role. We don't have a trumpet per se. Is it a flute? Is it a harp? Is it an oboe or a cello? We don't know what it is, but whatever it is, we see it. It's just a mass. But the truth is, it's already fully developed. It's embedded. We don't need to do anything to make it. It's present even before we embark upon our journey. It is just concealed. It's covered by all sorts of other things. And our job is to chip away at all those things and to unearth what was already present. A relationship of extreme closeness to God. A relationship symbolized like the hugging, the embrace of lovers It's already present. It's just covered. You've got to chip away at it. The Torah, it's there. Torah greatness that illuminates the whole world is there. It's just covered. And whatever your specific corner of greatness that's designated for you that has your name in it, it's there. It's present. It's just covered. The sukkah is the opposite. The sukkah symbolizes greatness that you do not have within you. That you must transcend your inborn, innate, default settings. You have to build it actively. It's not within you. It's not allotted to you. You don't have it. You just need to remove the things inhibiting it. That is the sukkah. And I don't know that this is true. There's a very long, fascinating teaching in the Talmud, in the opening pages of the book of Avodah Zarah, that talk about the future. And it's a very long piece, and I've spoken about it in previous podcasts. You will not be surprised to learn. But it talks about the future, where the Almighty holds the Torah scroll, so to speak, of course. It says, whoever kept the Torah, come to get your reward. And of course, everyone shows up. Everyone lines up. Those who kept the Torah and those who did not. And they come as a big jumbled mess, and the Almighty organizes them into nations. And then Rome shows up. And Rome says, well, we kept the Torah. Not really, but we facilitated. We facilitated the nation, the Jews, to keep the Torah. Everything that we did was really to facilitate that, so therefore we deserve to get the Torah. And the man says, no. What you did was for yourself. Sorry, ineligible. Next, the Persians come. Every nation shows up. Did he keep the Torah? No, but we still deserve. No, you don't. It's a very long and beautiful narrative. And then the nations, well, first they say, well, the Jews didn't keep it either, and they're proven that the Jews did keep it. It goes for like a page and a half, which is a lot in Talmudic standards. When they're out of arguments, they tell God, okay, we don't deserve any reward. Nothing. Whatever we did for ourselves. We didn't help the Jews. We didn't study Torah. We're not deserving. But still, give us a chance. And the Almighty says, okay, I'll give you one mitzvah. Build a sukkah. That will be the way that you get your undeserved reward. And they build a sukkah on top of their roof, and it gets very hot, and they get so frustrated, and they go out of the sukkah, and they kick the sukkah in disgust, and they demonstrate that they are undeserving of Olam Haba. Now, it's a very long, very interesting, very fascinating teaching in the Talmud, and there's lots of nuance, of course, in every step of the Talmud. But we know for sure the Talmud's talking about a situation where someone does not deserve something. They don't have it. They have nothing, no claim to it. And they want it nonetheless. There's one mitzvah that symbolizes that, and that's the sukkah, where you don't have it. There's no way of saying, let me clear away the things that are not it, and I'll have it there by default. You have to create it from scratch. That's the sukkah. Since the day Moshe was born, the trumpets were within him. He was destined for that from day one. He had to do a lot of work. He had to carve them out of that block. But it was there. It was present. It was fully formed. A fully formed operational trumpet was within that hunk of silver. And of course, it took enormous effort to hew it out. But it was there. It was present. There were cherubs in the enormous block of gold. There was a menorah in the enormous block of gold. You just need to remove the non-menorah parts, the non-cherub parts. And that's how you achieve the Torah, we're told. The Torah of the menorah, it's there. It's within you. You have to just expose it. The cherubs, the closest to God, it's within you. The particular role that you have to play in God's creation, the trumpet card, you could call it perhaps, the trumpet card, you have it. You just have to remove the things that it's not and allow the greatness to shine forth. Those three things symbolize the achievements that are baked in within us. We just need to clear away the contaminants. The sukkah is about creating something that did not hitherto exist. It symbolizes a different way of acquiring greatness. There are some areas that you don't have within you. You have to build something new. There's no built-in default setting. You have to clear away the other things. You have to go out and earn it. It's not easy to chip away at all those things that are inhibiting their greatness. But that's probably a lot easier than forming the greatness out of whole cloth. So we start with all the greatness that's already within us. It's ready to be exposed to the world. There's a lot of work to do that. Once that is maximized, well, maybe then it's time to approach the supernatural things, the leviathans, the sukkahs, where we have to create something from scratch. A powerful idea. I told you it would be. And it's been brewing for some time. But let's get to this week's dilemma, shall we? We have an idea and a dilemma each week. This is the dilemma of this week's podcast. On the Parsha podcast, we talk a lot about aspiring for greatness. But what if we're just ordinary people? We're just simple, regular, we're not extraordinary. Is any of this relevant to us? This is an important question to chew over, a dilemma of sorts. And we find the answer, again, in those trumpets. The trumpets are used for a variety of purposes. God tells Moshe, chapter 10, verse 2, make 2 trumpets out of silver, mitsha, hammered out of a single block. Okay, and what are they used for? And they shall be for you, lemikra ha'eda, to summon the congregation, ulamasa es hamachanos, and to the travelings of the camps. So summoning, traveling. And then it lists, how do you summon with it? And then how do you travel with it? So the very next verse says, okay, summoning, let's talk about summoning. When you blow in the trumpets, then the entire congregation comes to you. So Moshe, there's 2 trumpets. You blow them both, then the entire congregation comes. What if, the next verse says, what if Moshe wants to summon just the elders, just the princes? Then instead of using both trumpets, you blow just one. The sound that you blow to summon everyone and the sound that you blow to summon just the leaders, it's the same sound. The only difference is it 2 trumpets in concert or is it just one? Now, isn't it interesting that there's a very subtle difference between 2 identical sounds coming out of 2 different, or the identical sound coming from 2 sources, 2 trumpets, or the same sound coming from one. You know, if you had like an orchestra and there were 2 violins and only one played, like, would you even tell? It's almost imperceptible because it's the same as that sound. You blow, you make a tia sound, a sound of a tia, which is one big blast. So would you be able to tell if it's only 1 or 2? It's almost the same sound. So perhaps we can suggest, if you hear a sound, and you're not a prince, you're not a leader, you're an ordinary person. And you're like, is that 1? Is that 2? Could you tell? Perhaps the reason why it's such a minor difference between everyone coming and just the leaders coming, it's to show the nation, to show the masses, you are not so different than the leaders. It's a very slight difference. An ever so subtle difference separates you, the so-called ordinary Israelite, from the most prestigious member of your tribe. If you listen very carefully, very attentively, it sounds the same. It's their trained people. Am I being called? Am I being summoned? Am I wanted or not? you're not so distant from being a great leader yourself. Before a baby's born, the Midrash tells us, the angel takes the soul of the baby, or the soul of the baby, and whatever primordial physical existence the baby has then. It's a pre-birth expedition. And the angel takes the baby, or whatever, takes the soul, and brings him to Gan Eden, to paradise. And he shows him all the righteous people sitting with honor, and with distinction, and with splendor, with crowns in their heads. And the angel tells the baby before the baby is born, do you know who the people are? No idea. And the angel informs the spirit, all these people that you see, they were born exactly like you were born. There were once also children in utero in their mother's womb. And when they got out, when they were born, they kept the Torah and they kept the mitzvahs. And therefore they became righteous and meritorious and refined and elevated. And that's why they were invited to experience what you are witnessing. You will be born. And if you are righteous, are meritorious, you observe the Torah of the Almighty, you too will join their rarefied fraternity. But if not, well, there's another place. And then the night he brings them to the other place. Same conversation. People in Gehenna. Who are these people? They were just like you. We're not that different from the greatest of sages and from the worst of criminals. Is it one blast? Is it two? We're very close to being like them. I think that idea can help us feel comfortable, not as imposters in trying to obtain, in trying to attain, in trying to aspire for great and transcendental greatness. May we all be so fortunate. I appreciate your time and your attention. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. 10%, 5%, as much as I did. As always, it's a delight. It's great to be back at the Torch Center on torchzoom.com, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. If you're listening to this in the podcast, you're welcome to join. Join us, torchzoom.com. Just put it into your browser, torchzoom.com. Join us. Have a fantastic rest of your day. An amazing, sensational rest of your week. Please add an uplifting, meaningful, inspirational, elevational. I don't think that's a word. Fantastic, superb Shabbos upcoming. Please, God, with the help of the Almighty, we'll talk again next week in good health and in good spirits. And my email address is, as always, rabbiwolbe@gmail.com.